Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. The College of Science, Technology and Applied Arts of Trinidad and Tobago, the CER Foundation, and the Inter-American Development Bank recently launched their Full Circle Challenge. We're going to be speaking with lead specialist at the IDB Lab, Inter-American Development Bank, Ms. Vashti Dike, about the event. Hi, Ms. Dike, how you do?
I'm great, Dike. Thanks so much for this opportunity to share a little bit about our challenge.
Definitely, it is our pleasure. Now, when you started at the launch itself, you said it is so easy to look at social media, the news, and be discouraged. How does this launch, how does this initiative help to push back against some of that discouragement?
Well, I think there's a lot of innovation happening. There are a lot of opportunities in the innovation space, in the entrepreneurial space, that don't always get the same type of coverage. That's why we're very happy today to be able to extend the conversation a little bit about some of these challenges, some of these funding options that are available, especially for people in this particular instance that are starting to think about the circular economy, reducing waste, repurposing, rethinking, and redesigning.
And I'm so glad that you're here to do that, because in terms of reducing waste and repurposing, sometimes we don't realize, because it's just so around, it's just so prevalent that we don't realize, okay, well, this could be a problem. And one of the examples that you gave, and I'll ask you to share as well, is how easy is it for outputs from companies, manufacturing sector, what have you, to enter landfills, to become waste, and just because they're not being used again in a circular sort of way. So give concrete examples of those, please.
Okay, so for example, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a very large beverage manufacturing sector. And we not only supply Trinidad and Tobago, we supply the region, and in some cases outside of the region as well. Now, these companies are producing value-added product, companies generate jobs, income, but we don't always think about what's happening to those plastic bottles, or even the Tetra packages that say juices and other products come in. Now, for Trinidad and Tobago, what we have come to understand is that the plastics that are used in the bottles is a very pristine plastic. So there may be opportunity, and this is something that we're piloting with the CER Foundation in terms of piloting a kind of commercial opportunity to collect these plastics. And ultimately, I know one or two of the bottling companies are actually looking at a feasibility to establish a recycling plant right here that will anchor recycling of plastics and other materials in the Caribbean. Now, there's always a challenge because we don't have the scale in terms of having enough input. So that's why they're looking at like a multi-material recycling facility that can deal with aluminum, Tetra, plastics, and other wastes as well. But there are examples right here in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean where people are using plastic bottles. We had the opportunity to partner with the European Union in shaping the future of innovation. That's another challenge that's open to entrepreneurs. One of the companies that was in the first set of awardees, excuse me, is Milagro Solutions. And they actually are using plastic bottles to make plastic lumber. So the award allowed them to expand production because everything that they made was taken by contractors. So plastic lumber is one thing. And in Barbados, there is a company that is using plastic bottles to make roofing tiles. They are used in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly like in the Mayaro area or in Tobago, where, roofing is subject to a lot of, traditional roofing could be subject to a lot of wear and tear. And the plastic roof tiles are virtually indestructible and they can be in any color that you want. So we do have examples.
And I'm glad you're giving these examples, but break down, because sometimes only hear, what do you mean when you say pristine in terms of pristine plastic? Just make that definition first, class.
Well, I'm not an expert in plastics, but what the company has told us is that actually there's demand for our shredded plastic in some of the Latin American countries that have recycling facilities because of the quality. We import a lot of the preforms to make the bottles, so it's not reused plastic.
Okay.
So currently, companies that are collecting are shredding and baling, and that material is exported into some of the larger markets where they have recycling facilities.
Right,
but of course, I think this is sort of the halfway mark. We need to get into value-added production ourselves.
And I think value-added production is so important, but looking at the fact, because we have about 4 minutes more speaking with each other, looking at innovation and design, moving forward, adding value, doing things to scale, how important is it to work on collective mindset so that individuals think that, okay, well, this is something, is not that it might be able to work. It can work. We just need to make the steps for it to work. How much of that is part of what it is you try to do at IDB Lab?
Right. So, for example, in our project under which the circular economy challenge is being offered through COSTAATT, we sort of started approaching this on several levels. So one element of the project is to pilot a small monetary refund for bottles that are being collected by every bottle back. The second part is really to design, and I believe that they're going to launch this pretty soon, a kind of national campaign to get people aware, because sometimes just awareness makes you more mindful in your own life as to what you do. And the third element was really to stimulate some more entrepreneurial ideas around this whole idea of rethinking, redesigning, and reusing waste in ways that add value to produce products that people want.
And lastly, I want you to speak to the importance of bodies like IDB Lab and the IDB that are able to invest on things with from a mind space that is a little less focused on the bottom dollar and how that return is going to come back immediately from other, I guess, financial institutions. Thank you.
Okay, so every type of financial institution has its role to play. The IDB has been a long-standing partner of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We've been here many, many years. And the IDB Lab was really set up so that we would have this space. Now, we don't do 50 projects a year, but what we look for is sort of companies or organizations or sometimes even ecosystem actors that are doing something that is innovative. And when you are innovating, you're trying something new, right? Maybe you're taking a model and you're adapting it. Maybe it's a new product, a new service, and your returns are not going to be immediate. And we see this particularly like in renewable energy. We see it in circular economy. You have a longer time frame to recoup your investment. So we like to come in early to be able to help organizations pilot, prove their concept, get some traction, and then try and make connections for them with other entities that can help them further along in their journey. So we like to open the door and to give encouragement, not just with funding, but by connecting them to other change makers within the wider region, within the global space even. Because, you know, Dike, one of the things that entrepreneurs often don't talk about is that it can be very discouraging. And you need to be part of a network that can lift you, that can share, and that you can be part of a bigger movement. It's not just you fighting up here.
And with that, we want to thank you so much, Vashti Duki Singh, Lead Specialist, IDB Lab of the Inter-American Development Bank. And we continue this conversation after a short break, but we do so with the CEO of the COSTAATT Foundation. Stay with us. Welcome back. We continue to speak about the Full Circle Challenge, a circular economy business pitch competition. We do so now with CEO of the COSTAATT Foundation, Omar H. Mohammed. Thank you so much for joining, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Dike. Thanks so much for having me and the COSTAATT Foundation here today.
Yeah, man, you could say us because we're dealing with a multiplicity yourself. But
Yeah.
if you're feeling fantastic, what about the Full Circle Challenge is helping you to feel fantastic? Because I'm feeling that that challenge is part of it.
Yeah, for sure. The challenge itself, like I said, it's a culmination of a lot of conversations among many different stakeholders within this circularity space, which for the first time the COSTAATT Foundation is getting involved in. We traditionally do some more wider sustainable issues, environment, and so on. So getting involved in this space has really been a learning experience, and it's been guided quite a lot through our conversations and new partnerships with COSTAATT, for example. So just that involvement in the design and now launch of the competition, has really sort of opened our eyes to what's going on out there, to the incredibly diverse range of ideas and activities and business activity happening in that space already, from agriculture, which might seem sort of run of the mill and obvious, to really incredible things to do with fungi and and like a whole range of different things. So knowing that applications have already rolling is really exciting, and I think giving this space to people who clearly demonstrated that they have an interest is a really exciting place to be, an exciting thing to be a part of.
And one of the things that I appreciate in an answer like the one you just proffered, coming from a certain place, a certain context, a certain range of experiences, and having that experience broadened by this level of engagement, sometimes that can also change some of the things that you're doing. Has that tweaked the focus of the COSTAATT Foundation? Any deciding, okay, well, this is something that we want to look at a little more. It mightn't go straight to the fungi, but are there things that you have on this, like, oh, we didn't consider doing this. I think this is a place that we want to, a direction that we want to head in a little more.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's waste is a fundamental part of sustainability. But of course, like most organizations, we can't do everything. And so we've sort of been involved in a conceptual way. But really, having this conversation, we've now had a chance to be a part of many different groups and participating in, some technical conversations, some, partnership building conversations, and realizing as well the importance of, civil society and NGOs in that space to do the kind of advocacy you need. That's kind of where we started to see ourselves as being able to put some of those issues out there into the public sphere that some of these other stakeholders might not necessarily be able to or have the capacity to, So that's where we started to see ourselves and started to actually position ourselves to be that, like we've always done, to be that convener, bring people around the table, see, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? And in many cases, as you probably do, even though you work in the same space, chances are you probably haven't spoken to one another and understand what each other is doing. So that's the position that we've been going into. We have been planned over the next couple of months to do just that. And yeah, so it's really continuing our role as a and
How do you feel in this role as convener? And I ask that question because you use the word talk a few times, well, but and having people around the table, but looking and seeing some of the work that people are doing when they leave the table and go back to their individual pursuits in light of trying to create a little more access nationally and possibly even further abroad to the circular economy to get some of these changes on board so that they're no longer as novel. So everyone has a bit of an awareness about them, and because of that awareness, start to move a little differently.
So people really have this bad idea impression about talking to one another. But as one of my mentors said, coming from the Caribbean, one of the more radical things you could do is talk to one another and understand where each other is coming from. And we've seen that, almost every day in the work that we do, but especially this, is that, we all are operating with very limited resources. Even the state and even private sector companies, no one has enough to do the things that we need to get done, especially for development and sustainability. So that translates into action as well, because the people who are doing the action also don't have enough people. So talking to one another and understanding, okay, who's out there that can help me fill these gaps. So for example, one of the key elements of the overall project is the Every Bottle Back campaign, which people must have seen already, which is a private-led recycling initiative that actually actually pays a deposit refund cost for people dropping in PET plastic bottles, and that's being supported by the project. So that in that project itself, even as private, even though it's an independent non-state activity, they have still depended on engaging with communities, other types of stakeholders, their sort of mini entrepreneur program. So it's all about bringing people together and understanding who's doing what, and building those relationships that allow you to call on somebody to help you. And I think that's where, in many cases, we fall short because we don't approach it with that understanding of, yeah, we all need to work together. We need to build relationships, even with people that we might not necessarily get along with or whatever. But that's the point. The point is to make sure that whatever we're doing in this instance, circularity and engaging with circular economy, we need to make sure that it sticks beyond the life of a project, beyond the life of an initiative.
And beyond the life of this project, I'm hoping that the results, the positive results, could not have even been envisioned. But I want to ask, what is your base expectation from where you sit at the Proper Foundation to be the result? Well, what it is you're hoping for, lowest level coming out of the Full Circle Challenge, thanks.
The Full Circle Challenge really is our key entry point into supporting this incredibly vast small and medium enterprise economy in Trinidad and Tobago around not just circularity, but around a range of different things. So for the challenge itself, it's fantastic that we've been able to work with COSTAATT, who, as you probably would have heard from Dr. Millet, have launched this new school that actually does focus on, in many things, including circular economy and sustainability. So they've already embedded this challenge into that new endeavor. So understanding that, while this project will end, this will continue on with the participants challenge being enrolled in different activities of that school. And COSTAATT itself has built, a wide range of partnerships with other institutions within the country that support entrepreneurship. And we've been assured that even though the project is ending, we will still continue in some way with COSTAATT and with that partnership to see, people who would be engaged in the challenge move on to, greater and better things.
With that, we want to thank you very much, Omar Mohammed, Chief Executive Officer of the Proper Foundation. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, we've been talking about the Full Circle Challenge, a circular economy business pitch competition But on behalf of the entire TTG News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.